absolutely wonderful to have the chance to come together in person for our annual meeting on June 1st. We invited staff, current and incoming board members, our award winners, and their families to join in a smaller than usual, but still wonderfully almost normal live event. I knew I could not hold this meeting over Zoom again, and JFCS thanks to JCC Abrams Camp, Wendy Seuss, and her entire team for hosting the program. And we have so much to celebrate every year at our annual meeting. We take the time at this annual event to recognize milestone staff anniversaries. This year, celebrating Debbie Henritzi and Beverly Rutland for 10 years and Celeste Albert for 15 years. We also have the privilege of presenting several awards to community members. Our annual Mensch Awards are granted to 8th and 12th graders who have been nominated for living as a true Mensch, a doer of good deeds, a person of integrity and honor. We had 4 winners this year. The 8th grade Mensch in Training Award was presented to Zachary Miller, and the 12th grade Mensch Awards were presented to Jeremy Brandspiegel, Yoni Livstone, and Mark Sheffield. We awarded Alana Shear with the Sadaka Award for her efforts in getting our teen programs pivoted to virtual formats last summer through this fall. She truly became part of the team in ensuring our teams remained connected and engaged even while socially distant. The Big Thinkers Group received our Kihila Award for community partners. This group of women focus on the mission to empower and motivate women to get involved with charitable organizations that will enhance their businesses and at the same time offer needed assistance to their local community. The Big Thinkers completed multiple shop and stock events that kept our pantry shelves filled as demand rose for our services. And we had the honor of presenting Haley Aronson with the Gemilut Hasadim Award. Haley is the daughter of our very own Eden Aronson, volunteer coordinator. Haley, like so many adults, was working remotely during the pandemic and relocated back to her family home. While Haley was living back at home, she stepped up in a huge way to help her mother maintain the Kosher Meals on Wheels program through the past year. In the early days, Haley and Eden were a 2-women powerhouse, handling the deliveries all on their own. Even though Haley has moved back to the city as the world reopened, she still checks in on our KMAL volunteers and recipients. After a year of screens, it was so important and momentous to mark both the close of the past year and the promise of the new year ahead by all being together. Person-to-person connection is crucial for all of us, and especially so at JFCS. Despite the distance we have all endured over the 12 plus months, these individual connections have remained, even if found in new ways, over Zoom or across a 6-foot gap, through masks or through a window. So while I now usually share the statistics of success the agency has achieved in the past year, I now want to share the personal side of our success, the individual stories that show the impact of our agency. There is a story behind every single bag of food we have distributed through the mobile and on-site pantries. We have distributed thousands of bags this past year, which means there are thousands of stories. I had the privilege of hearing Eleanor's story, a foster parent to 7 children, also raising 2 grandkids of her own at one of our new monthly mobile distribution locations in Trenton. Eleanor shared with me that even before the pandemic, things were rough and money was tight. I'm retired and raising all the children is not easy. This year, adding in the impact of quarantine, remote learning, it's really been a lot to handle. A bag of groceries may not seem like a lot to some, but every month I am grateful for the help of JFCS. That bag of groceries mean we can save that expense for the week, and I have a little more to go around. I try and give back to the community where I can. Even though I can't give monetarily, I volunteer, I help a neighbor in need. That is what I see your agency do too, that helping hand that can mean even more than a monetary gift. The individual connections between our senior service team and the members they serve has always been a cornerstone of that department. This was made even more apparent in the past year as our team was there for our seniors at each step of the way. In the early days, this meant increased check-in calls, then creating Zoom programs to keep the seniors engaged and connected, and most recently, working hard to ensure that every senior client who wanted a vaccine was able to secure an appointment. One of the clients shared just what the support of our team has meant to her. There have been so many hopeful signs as the weather changes, as vaccines became available, but I find myself assessing the past year, both the minuses and plus of isolation. For me, a couple of things stand out as having been sustaining. My close-knit group of friends who remain connected through phone calls and emails, my family who showed up for regular visits even when masked and distant, my neighbors who kept an eye on me, and always the knowledge that I could turn to the Secure at Home team at any time. I always knew Beth and Andrea were a phone call away if I needed help. You cannot imagine the sense of comfort and ease this brought me. Just knowing that people I trusted were available was an incredible support. Thank you to this team for staying in touch throughout this past year. Mental health itself was a story over this year as our collective community and all of society recognized how important it was to attend to our emotional and mental well-being. The effects of the pandemic on our mental health are still being felt, still being understood. For many, the quarantine had them face their own mental health challenges for the very first time. Take the story of Justin. I experienced a panic attack for the first time a few months into the pandemic. My family was in serious lockdown. We were hardly seeing anyone, and if we did, only socially distant. My wife had lost her job, and my kids were struggling with remote learning. I always felt anxious and stressed. People kept saying that we had to accept this new normal. Then one night, I felt my heart start racing and couldn't identify exactly why. I felt incredibly worried and scared because I couldn't understand what was happening. I later recognized it was a panic attack. That was when I knew I should seek counseling, that these constant underlying feelings of stress and anxiety were not going to go away on its own, not without professional help. I feel so thankful to have connected with JFCS. The therapy has helped me explore and cope with past grief, past trauma, that all had added to the stress that was sparked by COVID. Mental health care is now a part of my everyday routine. I finally realized that it's just as important, if not more important, than my physical health. Year after year, our agency is a collection of stories, a collection of voices, including that of this broader community. These are the stories of help, hope, and healing. And there's one more story that has not happened yet. This fall, we are thrilled to be hosting our inaugural Wheels for Meal bike ride benefit. This event will be held on October 3rd and serve as our second annual fundraiser, specifically supporting all food programs within the agency. The ride will be for serious and not so serious riders with 3, 10, and 32-mile routes. So mark your calendars and tell all of your friends. We invite you to continue to be a part of our story, whether you've been with JFCS for years or you're just in your early chapters. Thank you to the community for supporting us through this incredibly difficult year. Your help allows us to continue being a beacon of hope and healing in our community.